Today's episode is brought to you by FreedomProject Academy. Looking for a K-12 classical online school built on Judeo-Christian values? FPA is enrolling now for the fall. Request your free information packet at freedomforschool.com. That's freedom, F-O-R, school.com.
It's time to get educated on the craziness impacting K-12 classrooms and college campuses around the world. This is the Dr. Duke Show.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Dr. Duke Show. Don't attempt to adjust your viewing device. I'm David Fiorazzo, filling in for Dr. Duke, and joined by Katie Petrick, as always. Before we get started, please hit that share button. Why? So we can educate more patriots around the country. Today, let's start in Nevada, where a school board was stunned to hear a mother begin reading a graphic sexual passage that her daughter was forced to memorize and present in front of the class. Now, this is actually something that you might be disturbed about, but we are going to talk about it because young children in schools are hearing this. So it's just, and you can see the headline there, it's just that I don't like D, and it's D-I-C-K. Las Vegas mother says teen told to read explicit content in class. Can we see that video?
I'm going to read you an assignment given to my 15-year-old daughter at a local high school.
Kendra Evans appears to be rattled as she stands before the Clark County School District Board last week. The mother claiming her daughter was upset about what her high school teacher assigned her to memorize in front of her class and sharing a portion with the board.
I don't love you. It's not you. It's just, I don't like your or any in that case.
CCSD board members quickly stopped the public comment over the derogative language, and the mic is turned off. That moment captured on social media on a popular TikTok page claiming adults can't handle hearing this content, yet they readily give it to kids in school. In the original feed from CCSD, Evans is given her time to speak, saying this about her 15-year-old daughter.
We have pornography laws regarding minors in this state, and many of those were violated because of this assignment.
While we're not allowed to engage back and forth in a dialogue, we would absolutely like to make sure that your concerns are addressed.
CCSD via Twitter says they are investigating the circumstances surrounding the class assignment. Evans stated she didn't want the teacher fired, but hopes by addressing the matter, it will avoid the problem from happening again.
We get this story all the time.
Oh, no, that's just one rogue story, right?
Oh, silly David. That's more than one rogue story. we do get this, in this is another instance of a parent who cares about what's happening in their kid's school. In this instance, it's a mother, and it tends to be a lot of mothers. But the mother stepped forward, and you can see clearly from the very beginning that she didn't want to have to be saying this in front of
She was embarrassed.
a school board, but it was her 15-year-old daughter. And it's not only because what we've had a lot of is this is in the books in the school. This is an instance where her daughter was needing to memorize a paragraph, which we're about to show you, but we won't read the whole thing, an entire paragraph, and then the 15-year-old daughter was expected to stand up in front of all of her peers and recite this paragraph.
So the report, did you hear the announcer, whoever was saying, adults can't handle hearing it, but they give it to kids? As you've reported on for years, this happens across the country in little schools and little towns, just like in San Fran, Atlanta, Chicago, Boston, LA. It's happening in schools everywhere. And then when it does reach the public, now there's some backlash.
Of course there is. But I want to make this clear because this paragraph that I'm about to give part of is more than just what that mom was trying to say. And if you thought the beginning part of what that mom was trying to say, let's take a look at some of the rest of the paragraph. So again, it started off with and this is supposed to be a female character, saying, I don't love you, it's not just you. And then she looks down and she doesn't like the guy's male genitalia or any male genitalia in that case. I cheated, Joe. We were long distance. I'm going to college. Blarty, blarty, blarty. Then she starts talking about how she was starting having this girl roommate, and they started to sleep in the same bed together, and but God, it was like fireworks, and it made me realize with you it was always like a pencil sharpener that keeps getting jammed. Okay. And I've tried to look at it from all different perspectives, but the truth is I'm a effing lesbian. I'll never love you or any man or any effing male genitalia. I hope you find a nice straight girl because that's not me, and I'm tired of pretending that it is. And again, if that was kind of awkward for you to sit through and listen to me say, imagine being a 15-year-old girl in a class with other teenagers and you having to recite that. And it's for a grade because, I mean, it was an assignment. So not only was she needing to say all those words, she needed to say them correctly. I'm guessing probably the more impassioned she was, the higher the grade the teacher would give her.
Yeah, it's interesting. It says a lot that the parent of this young teenager had a hard time getting the words out. I don't know if she was embarrassed or almost in tears, but there that moment of silence there when she was looking down at what she was about to read, and then they cut her off, of course. That's very interesting. Katie, you've been doing this a lot longer than me. How often have you seen that where a school board or at a meeting in public, they cut the parent off because they're about to say something that's perverse, radical, not fit for children, and yet it's in the schools?
Well, absolutely. That's almost every one of these cases at this point, because it's either the school board doesn't want to hear it or the school board is not allowed to hear it, they claim. And so, the school boards are not allowed to make comments, which I get that in standard protocol, if you're talking the way these meetings are to be run, you don't have this engagement. But we're talking specifically in all these instances about the education of these children, not just a random parent who has a random issue about the tax dollars going maybe to the school, but actually about the content being put into the minds of their children. And when Mama Bear comes out or Papa Bear comes out, when they are trying to put this indoctrination into their own kids' minds, that's when Papa Bear and Mama Bear say enough is enough. But of course, what's the school's response is pretty much in every one of these instances. The Clark County School District is investigating the circumstances surrounding a class assignment consisting of a student-generated writing exercise that produced content not conducive to student instruction. And of course, this is tweeting, by the way. The district does not comment on an individual employee or personnel issues, and all policies and procedures are being followed. Now, David, you've been around long enough to understand what kind of a response does the school district always give us?
That's the disclaimer voice. Thank you for mastering that. And it's sad. She said, by the way, the parent, that we have pornography laws for minors in this state, and they were violated because of this assignment. Really quick, Katie, do school boards that hear this kind of stuff across the country, do they know, the school board, do they know what's going on?
It's almost like a trick question, because I think in some instances, some of these school boards darn right know what's going on, and other ones, they are completely clueless.
Wow.
So it depends on where you're at in the country.
With all the censorship taking place on social media platforms, we've made it easy to keep up with your favorite content. Simply download the Freedom Project Media app in your app store. Get access to 18 new videos a week, plus thousands of archived shows, lecture series, and educational animations. Download the Freedom Project Media app on your Apple TV, Roku, tablet, or phone, and make sure you allow for notifications to keep you informed.
Okie dokie, before we move on, please take a moment to consider supporting the work we do here at Freedom Project. If you enjoy our content, please consider joining the Patriot Club with a donation, and as a token, just a small little token of our appreciation, we will send you our trademark American Patriot tumbler. Simply visit patriotclub.us to show your support. That's patriotclub.us. Now moving on to the next story, where there are sometimes some headlines are worth reading in full. Woke Arizona high school counselor who helped organize drag show for students arrested and accused of having sex with 15-year-old girl. That is one long headline saying a lot of information, all of it disturbing. I would note all of it disturbing. This is just, good, great, and grand on all levels. So this is coming from Tucson, Arizona, where the Tucson Police Department's Child Sexual Assault Unit received a report of an inappropriate relationship between one Zobella Brazil Vinick, a 29-year-old, ex-teacher or ex-counselor, and a 15-year-old student at Tucson High Magnet School. Now, at the time, Vinick was a counselor at Tucson High Magnet School, and authorities launched an investigation into the claims already on May 3rd. So what we're going to talk about moving on here is I want everyone to look at the timeline, because this at least is, for the first time, I think, a timeline where they moved on it. Not just, oh yeah, we got reports from this like counselor maybe sexually assaulting a girl.
Maybe.
2 weeks from now, maybe we'll take a look at it, or 2 months from now. But in this instance, it's a bing, bang, boom. So we have a statement that actually came out the very next day from the Tucson Unified School District Superintendent, Dr. Gabriel Trujillo, who said on May 4th, 2022, detectives from the Tucson Police Department Sexual Assault Unit informed the administration of Tucson High Magnet School of an ongoing investigation into one of its counselors, Zobella Brazil-Vinnick. The administration was informed of an alleged inappropriate relationship between the counselor and a 15-year-old student from Tucson High. Now, the day after that, the school district actually put Vinnick on administrative leave and initiated its own investigation. On the same day, Vinnick resigned from her counselor position and is no longer an employee of the Tucson Unified School District. Well, let's just take a look at what the local news had to say about that.
Zobella Brazil-Vinnick is charged with 1 count of sexual conduct with a minor. Now, detectives say the investigation began earlier this month. According to the interim complaint, the student had allegedly been living with Vinnick and another woman. Detectives conducted interviews and served multiple search warrants in connection with the case. They say those warrants revealed inappropriate messages between Vinnick and the student.
So I may be old school here, but that looks like someone that should be working in one of those shops that sells, I don't know, pot, new age stuff, incense, or something else, maybe a Harry Potter. And she's, I look at her, I don't see teacher, I don't see guidance counselor. I take offense to that. Why? Not only because she's way too young, in my opinion, to be a teacher or guidance counselor, but my father was in education for 30 years and he was a guidance counselor. I look at that, to me, and that's a joke. But that's who they're hiring today. So this hits me personally in a way, because I just don't get it. What they're bringing into the schools. And she had what? She was living with 3 people, 2 people?
Oh, yes. So if we, if you want to make that headline even more complicated, let's talk about Vinnick's ex-wife. As the news reported, the police department said that Vinnick's ex-wife told law enforcement officials that the couple, so it's Vinnick's ex-wife, but they're still living together, have been allowing the 15-year-old to live with them in their home. Okay, and now the ex-wife reported that the 29-year-old and the 15-year-old had been co-sleeping together, and that she, I think meaning the ex-wife, found Vinnick's underwear hidden under a pillow on the bed, where under the pillow of the student side where the student had been sleeping. I mean, the headline was long enough.
Yeah.
But I guess ex-wife, student counselor, woke Arizona, underwear pillow, sex, 15-year-old girl, drag show. Also, we got to talk about the drag show. We'll get to that in a moment. But this is what we got going on. And again, this is something I did not know about you, David, that your father was in education with being a counselor. I had an uncle who was a guidance counselor for 15-year-olds and younger. And right. I think if I told him about this story, he would be obviously absolutely appalled. But we have to talk about all of the other evidence of things that they have going on, so I guess let's continue. Now, the police seized cell phones through a search warrant, which had revealed inappropriate messages between now the ex-counselor and the victim, that it does support a sexual or romantic relationship. The female victim said, basically confirmed that she did have a sexual relationship with the high school counselor, and that the relationship turned sexual around February 2022, which makes you wonder, David, how is it that this 15-year-old girl went to see her counselor and then it turned romantic and it turned sexual? How does that actually happen, except for the 29-year-old not being a counselor?
Suddenly, allegedly.
Yes, exactly. Now, as I indicated before, this drag show we must address, because Zobella's role in the school was more than just being a counselor. She also oversaw the high school's Q space, which was the after-school program. The high school apparently defines the Q Space Club as a space students will learn about LGBTQIA+ history, create alphabet soup in there, anyone, create community and engage in individual and group work, exploring identity and collaborating to discover community care and joy. What a joy. But David, tell me a little bit about the drag show itself.
Well, Zobella was organizing the school's first ever drag show that should have happened on May 7th. Darn, she previously was a community advocate for the Scholarships A through Z organization, described as a, quote, Tucson-based immigrant youth-led organization that works to make higher education accessible to all students, regardless of immigration status. So the plot thickens here, and now her profile was wiped from the website. Just know that she majored in peace studies with a major in Latinx.
Oh, yes,
at
the
Tufts University.
minor in
Pronouns are she, her, Ella.
Today's show is sponsored by our friends at MyPillow. Save up to 66% on all items at MyPillow.com when you use the code Dr. Duke. That's DRDUKE. Support this show by supporting a great American company.
All right, if you've been hanging around the Dr. Duke show at all, even from literally 17 seconds ago, this next story comes as no surprise to you. Teachers and aides are committing sex crimes at exorbitant rates. This year alone, just this year, and we're only in May, everybody, 135 have been charged. Now, Fox News Digital just conducted an analysis, and they looked at, wow, it's almost like you can do this for your own self with your own 2 or 4 eyes. They look at local news stories that feature arrests of teachers and aides on child sex-related crimes across the country. And guess what? They added them up. And they found that there were 135 of them. The crimes have ranged everywhere from child porn to raping students. And we're going to get into a little bit of the stats now.
We've got teachers and teachers' aides arrested for child sex crimes, and 105 men, 30 women.
Now, that one I think is quite fascinating.
That's
because,
the breakdown.
Yeah, if you have 105 of them being men and only 30 of them being women, based on the stories I've read, if you're a woman and you're a teacher, teacher aide, and you get caught having sex with a boy, you're gonna get off not scot-free, but way less harsh punishment than any of the men who do this. So yes, maybe the stat is skewed. I mean, any and all are bad. And then when you take a look at the breakdown, it's pretty much all teachers. I mean, yes, there are some teachers' aides, and the fact that there are substitutes in there is even more disheartening. It's 7 substitute teachers, to be specific, and 11 teachers' aides, which means 117 were teachers. Your teachers in your schools, and you may be saying, yeah, Katie, David, not in my school.
That's
until it is.
All the time we hear that. Well, not in a
is.
small town in Wisconsin or Idaho
or
Kentucky.
Except it is happening, and we have several examples. We'll take a look at Anessa Page Gower. We do have a female. Look at her go. A 35-year-old former biology teacher at Making Waves Academy in Richmond, California, charged with 29 counts of child molestation back on April 8th. Now, Gower is accused of sexually abusing 7 students between the 2021-2022 year when she was a teacher at Making Waves, with allegations including forcible sodomy of minors and sharing sexually graphic photos over online platforms. She's due back in court on June 2nd.
William Landon Smith, a 31-year-old former science teacher at Cape Fear High School. Is that real?
Cape Fear.
Fayetteville, North Carolina, charged with 27 counts of first-degree sexual exploitation of a minor, 28 counts of indecent liberties with a student, and 1 count of secretly using or installing a photographic imaging device to arouse or gratify sexual desire on May 18th.
We have John M. Doty, 35-year-old former biology teacher. I'm noticing a theme of science teachers in this instance. A former biology teacher at Career Academy, South Bend in Indiana, charged with 2 counts of rape, 1 count of attempted rape, 6 counts of child seduction back in February.
Wow.
And won't go to trial until next year. So this is all what it is. We could move on. We could go on and on and on. Cases are happening every day. Parents, what are you going to do about it?
All right, before we go, let's take a little time to fill you in on some other stories we've been following. Let's start in Naples, Florida, where the United Church of Christ, who fell off the rails decades ago of biblical Christianity, they just played host to a youth pride conference. That's right, yes, a church. This past weekend, the free event was promoted by GLSEN, Gay, Lesbian, and Straight Education Network, was held for kids 12 years old and up. And its mission was to provide an exploration of LGBTQ-related issues facing today's youth. The conference featured breakfast and lunch, breakout sessions, panel discussions, and don't forget the all-important drag show. That's right. As far as the United Church of Christ hosting the conference, the church, in quotes, sides with LGBT, going as far as to condemn Governor Ron DeSantis' latest Parental Rights Act in Florida, saying it will have a chilling effect on LGBTQ plus youth. Speaking of the rainbow mafia influencing everyone and everything, the Army is now considering a new policy that would allow any soldier the ability to transfer to a different base if the state they are currently stationed in discriminates. According to military.com, the policy would ostensibly sanction soldiers to declare that certain states are too racist, too homophobic, too sexist, or otherwise discriminatory to be able to live there safely and comfortably. Just to be clear, the same people who have chosen to defend our nation against those who would seek to destroy it are now seeking safe spaces from places like Florida because of Ron DeSantis wanting to protect young children from being sexualized in school. I think we got it. So Katie, first, the military lowered the bar for physical fitness requirements, and now they're providing safe spaces for soldiers who are supposed to be trained protectors. Your thoughts?
This should outrage everyone because these people have signed up to defend our country.
Yeah.
They will have to be going to countries where being LGBT will get you killed. So does that mean that they automatically don't have to go in time of crisis when they have signed up to be there when it's most needed? They can't even be at a base in Florida where it's nice and sunny. And if you want to have basics somewhere, I'd say go there. But they are supposed to be protecting us, and they can't even go to Florida, much less anywhere where their sexual desires will be put them on the chopping block, literally.
Yep. Finally, let's wrap up what has become an LGBT segment by heading to Jeffersonville, Indiana, where a high school has just crowned its newest prom king, or should I say queen. Just watch this.
As you can see, Christian's not quite traditional. For one, he's non-binary. His pronouns are he and they. Plus, he's got style you just don't leave at home.
2022 Prom King is Christian.
At Jeffersonville High School, the prom king is a drag queen, and Her Majesty's subjects respect their royal.
I was nervous. I felt like I was gonna have a panic attack coming in there. But as I went in there, the red carpet entrance, everyone was screaming. After that, I just got comfortable. I took the heels off because, I was in a little pain.
This is how 18-year-old Christian Hernandez looks without the prom night getup, coming off an after-school shift working at a grocery store.
It took me 5 hours. It was a whole process. I had to.
But even dressed as a commoner, he is still riding the high of his crowning, including what it means for a wider kingdom.
I even get like a tingly feeling, almost like a love, but like almost crying, because I really want people to open up and be themselves, because I know there's plenty of people that have hate towards the LGBT, and I'm just trying to push some doors open for the community.
One of the saddest things in that video was the cheers and approval from all the kids in the public school. Did you hear that? Last year, though, we covered a story out of Missouri. A gay man wearing a dress, was crowned homecoming queen. Now we're in Indiana, where a gay man also wearing a dress has just been voted prom king. Katie, what is happening?
Everyone's special,
Yeah.
so nobody is special. I want my tiara.
That wraps it up this time. More to come.
All right, that is going to do it for this show. For all of us here at Freedom Project, stay educated, my friends.